In today's world, we rely on technology for almost everything: food, transportation, safety, and when something goes terribly wrong, we trust one number more than any other: 911. For most people, dialing those three numbers means help is already on the way. But for emergency dispatchers, those calls don't always end with sirens and relief. Some end with silence. Silence so heavy, it stays with them for the rest of their lives. Tonight, these are not stories passed down or exaggerated. These are real emergency calls. Calls where help was requested. Calls where someone believed they were about to be saved. And calls that still haunt the operators who answered them. Case 1. The Boy in the Woods. In October of 2016, a 15-year-old boy named Evan Miller went missing in rural Oregon. Evan was quiet, not troubled, not rebellious. He loved hiking trails near his home and often spent hours exploring the woods behind his neighborhood. On the afternoon of October 14th, Evan told his mother he'd be back before dark. He never came home. At 6:42 p.m., a 911 call came in from Evan's phone. The operator answered immediately. At first, there was nothing, just breathing, heavy, panicked. Then a voice. I'm lost. I can't see anything." The dispatcher asked where he was. Evan didn't know. He could hear wind, leaves crunching, something else, movement. The operator told him to stay where he was. That's when Evan whispered, "There's someone else out here." The dispatcher assumed he was scared, maybe imagining things, until Evan added, "They're not saying anything." The line stayed open for 11 minutes. During that time, Evan's breathing got faster. He said he heard footsteps circling him. Then suddenly, "I see a light." The dispatcher felt relief, until Evan screamed. The call ended abruptly. Search teams were dispatched immediately. They found Evan's phone the next morning, cracked, lying neatly on a tree stump. Evan was never found. No footprints, no struggle, no suspects. The dispatcher quit her job 6 months later. She said she still dreams about that last scream. Case 2. The Locked Apartment. In 2019, a woman named Angela Torres lived alone in Phoenix, Arizona. She worked nights, kept to herself, no known enemies. At 2:13 a.m., Angela called 911. Her voice was calm, too calm. "Someone is in my apartment." The dispatcher asked if she could see them. Angela whispered, "No, but I can hear them breathing." She said she was hiding in the bathroom. The door was locked. The dispatcher stayed on the line. Angela suddenly stopped talking, then quietly said, "They're touching the door." The dispatcher told her officers were en route. Angela replied, "Please hurry." There was a loud bang. The door didn't break. Another bang. Angela began crying. The dispatcher could hear scratching. Then, silence. Officers arrived 4 minutes later. The apartment door was locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry. Angela was found inside the bathroom. No visible injuries. The coroner ruled it cardiac arrest, but investigators couldn't explain the handprints. They were found on the outside of the bathroom door. Case 3. The Wrong Turn. In January 2021, a rideshare driver named Marcus Hill made a single mistake. He took a wrong turn in rural Mississippi. At 11:48 p.m., Marcus called 911 from his car. "I think I messed up. I'm not supposed to be here." The dispatcher asked what he meant. Marcus described a dirt road, no streetlights, no houses. Then he said something chilling. "There are people standing in the road." The dispatcher asked if they were asking for help. Marcus paused. "No, they're just watching." The dispatcher advised him to turn around. Marcus tried. The car stalled. The dispatcher could hear voices outside the vehicle, low, unintelligible. Marcus whispered, "They're tapping on my windows," then screaming. The line stayed open for another 2 minutes. Police arrived to find Marcus's car, empty, engine running, driver door wide open. Marcus Hill has never been found.
Case 4. She called from the attic. In Ohio, 2014, a woman named Rebecca Lawson dialed 911 at 3:02 a.m. She said she was hiding in her attic. "My husband thinks I left." The dispatcher asked why she was hiding. Rebecca hesitated. "Because if he finds me, he'll finish it." The dispatcher heard footsteps below. Rebecca said she had been hiding for 2 days. No food, no water. Officers were dispatched. Rebecca whispered, "I hear him coming upstairs." The dispatcher told her to stay silent. A creaking sound followed. Then a man's voice faintly through the phone. "Rebecca?" The call cut. Police arrived within minutes. The house was empty. No husband. No Rebecca. The attic access ladder was pulled down. Blood was found on the attic floor. Rebecca Lawson was declared legally dead in 2019. Her husband was never located. Case 5. The Fire That Waited. In 2018, a man named Thomas Green, age 62, called 911 from his home in Nevada. "My house is on fire, but it's moving slow." The dispatcher asked what he meant. Thomas explained the fire wasn't spreading fast. It was blocking exits, cornering him. He sounded oddly calm. "I can see it thinking." The dispatcher assumed shock. Fire crews were dispatched. Thomas suddenly said, "It's louder now." Crackling intensified. Then, coughing. The dispatcher reassured him help was near. Thomas replied, "I know. I just don't think it wants me to leave." Silence followed. Firefighters arrived to find the house fully engulfed. Thomas was found seated in a chair. No attempt to escape. The fire investigation found nothing unusual, but one firefighter quit weeks later. He claimed the fire alarm was already off when they arrived. Closing. Emergency calls don't always end with rescue. Sometimes they end with questions. Questions that replay every night in the minds of those who answered the phone. Because when someone calls 911, they believe they are being heard. And sometimes that belief is the last thing they ever hold on to. Some calls don't end when the line goes dead. They echo forever.